Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Hopefully you all had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend, got to kick back with some family, staying safe, of course, right? Social distancing, but seeing some loved ones, and of course, embracing what this holiday is all about. Remembering the ones that sacrificed their lives for this beautiful country, right? So hopefully you enjoyed the 3-day weekend, and now it's back to reality. So with that being said, let's talk some sports, and believe it or not, there was live sports on this weekend, and golf put on a tremendous little how do you do on television. A week or so ago, they tried the driving relief, which was, I'm going to be honest with you, a total dud. It was not entertaining. You had to watch the golfers carry their own bags. There wasn't much communication involved. There wasn't a lot of chirping. You had Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods versus Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. Charles Barkley in the mix. I mean, it was just fantastic. Now, was it the best weather? No. And I think you saw a little bit of, human involved, right? And what I mean by that is watching golf when you are a 20 handicap like I am myself, maybe even a little bit higher, but who's really going to tell here? You saw them be like you. Tom Brady shanking one over, maybe missing some easy putts, and the downpour definitely played a factor in why that occurred. But still, you saw a human element. You saw them actually miss putts that realistically good golfers should be able to drain. And Peyton Manning and Tom Brady have good handicaps. They are good golfers, but a little bit of pressure. You got the cameras, you got the crew involved. They know that everyone is watching. It's a totally different environment. So maybe not the best quality of golf all around, but still, it was so entertaining. I thought it was fantastic. Going from a dud the week before and then factoring in a fantastic round of 18. Yeah, I got to give it to him. I was very intrigued. I was very involved. DraftKings, you could bet every single hole. Who's going to win the hole? Who's going to have the farthest drive? Who's going to win the entire tourney? Great event. Super pumped, and it looks like that there's something there. But that's not the main conversation today. There's a lot that's going around, and I'm sure this week there's going to be even more news. You're hearing NBA talks, the Walt Disney World thing, and now possibility of reseeding or 1 versus 16. A lot in play when it comes to the postseason. Baseball, there's talks between the parties of the ownership and the players. 50-50 revenue, yada, yada, yada. Let's just get something done, right? Well, I want to look at this Phillies team, and I want to see and discuss who needs to play stellar for this team to succeed. Now, it's going to be a shortened season, so it's going to be a sprint, not a marathon. In this sprint, who needs to be on top of their game? And there's 5 players, or I guess 5 people, because the manager is definitely in play. But there's 5 people that I look at and I say, you got to step the hell up this season. You got to be a key piece for this team to be successful. 5 players. Now, before we dive into that, let's hear a word from my sponsor. This episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. They set the standard for clean energy. Whether you are looking to add solar to your home or company, Orbit Energy and Power works directly with you to ensure that you are getting the best deal. That's not all. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So visit them online at orbitenergy.us or call them at 800-836-3987. So if you've been following me for a long time, you understand how I feel about pitching, specifically the back of the rotation right now. And it's flat out garbage. But is the top of the rotation garbage? Let's discuss. My number 1 is Aaron Nola. It should be no surprise. You just watched the Washington Nationals win a championship, and they had unbelievable starting pitching. And when you look at the postseason, what happens? What succeeds? I'll tell you for free. It's pitching. You need pitching to win championships in Major League Baseball. So Aaron Nola is going to have to be unreal. Now, if you look at 2018 versus 2019, you had two different versions of Nola. Now, I'm not saying that Aaron Nola every single year has to be in the category of the Cy Young. I don't know if he's that talented, but maybe we need to see a mix consistently of 2018 and 2019. If you can combine those two together and get that consistently, I will be very pleased. Now, does that always result in a Cy Young conversation? Maybe not. Maybe some years it does, some years it doesn't. But he needs to be better than what he provided for this Philly squad in 2019. So when you look at 2018, and keep in mind, he was ew. He was flat out ew in 2018. He allowed 17 total homers. Lefties were hitting 187 against him. Righties, 207. How about 2019? He allowed 27 homers, walked 80 batters, lefties hitting 240. I mean, come on. That's a big difference, right? This is, though, where it really changes. Away from Citizens Bank Park, it was ugly in 2019. A 5.19 ERA. You gotta perform better away from your home ballpark. You're going to have to battle it out, grind it out. I remember last year watching these balls fly out of the ballpark on Nola thinking, well, what the hell? What is going on? How is he losing it to this degree? He was getting smoked. And when he would let one up, you thought, damn, all right, Nola, let's go. Let's battle back here, right? Let's dig deep, take some deep breaths, right? Regroup a little bit. Mentally, get yourself back on track. And then what? Maybe 3 batters later, here he goes. Watching another one fly out. It's ridiculous. And when you look at what he did away from Citizens Bank Park the year before, it was a 2.41 ERA. Essentially doubling. Really, it's more than that, but essentially doubling. Your number one dude has to be more lethal. And if this team is going to battle it out for, I don't know if I can really say the NL East, but the East, right? Because right now you're hearing talks about staying on the border, so it would be the NL East versus the AL East. So I don't really know what the division is. It's just the East at this point in my brain. So if they are going to battle in the East, Aaron Nola is going to have to be a stud. Someone you can consistently rely on. There's plenty more stats out here. With 2 outs and runners in scoring position last year, a 4.56 ERA. The year before, 2.67. Night and day. 2 totally different pitchers. There's a lot more, too. With a 1-0 count, last season, 400. 400 was the batting average of hitters. With a 2-0 count, 412. Date it back to the Cy Young year. 1-0 count, 250. 2-0 count, 273. How about just the first pitch? I know this is a lot of stats getting thrown at you, but it's mind-boggling when you look at the 2 seasons. First pitch in 2018, 206. First pitch in 2019, 373. You are going to have more of a 2018 Aaron Nola. But if he is that, and once again, he doesn't have to specifically be that. He's got to be somewhere in between 2018 and 2019. He's got to be somewhere in between that. He can't be last year, though. If he is closer to last year, this team probably will be doomed. Because then you got to rely on Zack Wheeler, Jake Arrieta, Nick Pivetta, Zach Eflin. You're toast. Toast. So you're going to have to rely on this dude to bring it. I think he can, though. I think he can. I wouldn't rely on Aaron Nola like this if I didn't think he could do it. When I look at Zach Eflin, Nick Pivetta, Vince Velasquez, even Jake Arrieta, I don't feel that they can do it. There's a lot of guys on this Phillies team, I'll be honest with you, that I don't really rely on and say they are able to execute. But with Aaron Nola, I think he can. And this has been a very common conversation throughout Philadelphia for a while when it comes to Nola. Is he a true number one? Is he an ace? He's not an ace, but he could be a number one. He's probably best fitted for a number two, but you can win with him as your number one if he provides something closer to his 2018 year. So for my number one, it is Aaron Nola. And I remember watching dominant moments where you saw it in spurts, where he would go 7, where he would go 7 2/3, and he would only allow 1 run, and he was striking out 12 or 11 or hell, just double digits, and he was executing all over the plate, using his location beautifully, the off-speed, having batters swinging and missing, and then bringing in not the overpowering fastball, but the beautiful location fastball. And when he was on, whoo-hoo, and I don't really know how to explain it, but if you're a Phillies fan, you know exactly what I mean. His delivery, with the way his arm cocks back and just the delivery of Aaron Nola, when it is on that night, maybe it's a dark night, under the lights, 8:30. You can see the Philadelphia skyline in the background, but you just picture his mechanics. Ew, it's so gross. He's going to have to be killer. He's going to have that killer mentality for this team to really do something during this sprint. Number one, Aaron Nola. Number two, we are going to stick with the pitching theme. It has to be Zack Wheeler. You need to have pitchers that can go on the diamond consistently and be an X factor. I know everybody probably assumed Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, right? All these names were people who play every day. And don't get me wrong, those players are very beneficial, and you need them to succeed to have a squad that will continue to rack up wins. But it starts on the mound. It's very similar to a goalie in hockey, if you will. You don't win Stanley Cups without a goalie. You might point one out in 70 years, okay, but that's not how you build a team. You need a netminder. You need someone that you can rely on in between the pipes that's going to make a big save, that's going to come up clutch. If there's a defensive breakdown, that guy's going to be able to be there. In baseball, your pitcher is going to have to maybe back up the hitting. If the hitting's not there that night, if the Phillies aren't able to score 9 runs, 8 runs in that baseball game, which I promise you they probably won't, and say they only get 1 or 2 runs on the board, you need to rely on Aaron Nola, or in this case, Zack Wheeler, to be able to do it. Now, here's the knock on Zack Wheeler. He's a second-half guy. His stats don't pop, close to a 5 ERA. It's not this insane statistical pitcher. In the second half, though, he sure dominates. So, in the second half last year, 2.83 ERA, with a 5-2 record. Now, I'm not a big win-loss guy when it comes to baseball. You can allow 1 run and get a loss. You can allow 2 runs and get a loss. There's plenty of times where even if you allow 3 runs, it's still not your fault. It's such a flawed statistic, so I really don't value it too much. But that's what he did in the second half last year. In 2018, he went 9-1 with a 1.68 ERA. ERA is above 4 in both years when it comes to the first half. So, post-All-Star break, here he comes. And actually, this is broken down midway games. So, it's not specifically after the All-Star break. It's halfway through the season. What he's able to provide after the halfway mark in terms of games. But he is definitely unbelievable. The problem is it's not the full year. Now, would you rather it happen in the first half? Would you rather him give these type of numbers, the below 2 ERA type numbers in the first half and then be brutal in the second? Because I'll be honest with you, with how this team has been over the last couple seasons, I'll take this any day of the week if I had to take one. But I think he needs to find a way to be more consistent. He's been battling injury throughout his career. It definitely hasn't been the smoothest. He's been through some ups and downs, but hey, a new city, very familiar with the area, of course, and the division, but a new city, Joe Girardi in play, the Mets, there's always talent on the Mets, but they don't win. And we all look at the culture and we laugh. And to be honest with you, we should laugh because there's something about the Mets that just screams they don't succeed. There's always something going on. There's always something screwed up, right? And I'm not going to claim that the Philadelphia Phillies have this excellent front office, that they have this excellent background and support of just winning culture, because they don't. They had a great run, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. We know the story. But it's not as if you look at the Phillies and you look at this franchise that just wins all the time. No. I do think, though, that they're a step ahead of the Mets. And that might not be, which is crazy, a positive thing about the Phillies. That might just be how brutal the Mets are run right now. But I digress. Looking at what Zack Wheeler can bring, and when you look at what he does when it comes to his pitches, he's got his four-seam fastball around 97 miles per hour, which he relies heavily on. The slider at 91 miles per hour. He brings a curve to the mix, a changeup as well. I love the fact that he can throw a bunch of different pitches in there. And he also very rarely can throw a splitter as well. So he has a lot to the table, and I've been screaming about how much I love this for a long time now, since he was signed in free agency. 97 mile per hour fastball. This team needs pitching that can throw the baseball so damn hard. They have not had that. They need a pitcher who can destroy the baseball. Bye, guys. I want to hear it pop. Hit JT Realmuto's bat, pop, right through the glove. Maybe even go through the glove, hit JT Realmuto in the chest, puts him back a couple feet into the umpire. Blow it by, guys. They have not had the opportunity to do that in years. Here's something that's interesting, though. So, Steamer, which is one of the most accurate player predictor models in the industry, has Wheeler going 11-10, which, once again, it's something that I do not value, so I don't give a damn about the win-loss. With a 4.13 ERA, a 1.23 whip, and 31 starts, striking out 194 batters and walking 53. So the strikeout number is very high. The ERA, though, a little high. If he gave me a little less on the ERA, I would be more happy about that. Happier about that, I guess is the way to say it. If he gave you a 3.7 ERA, I think I'd be a little bit more satisfied than the 4.13. I hope that these numbers are a little high, just a little high. Come on, Zach, let's go. Let's push it down a little bit, closer to the 3.5 ERA. And it's not as if that's overwhelming. It's not as if that is just stellar, fantastic, shut down. But if Aaron Nola gives you more of his 2018 and Zack Wheeler's more consistent, right? So here's the thing. If I say he gives you a 3.5, 3.6 ERA, and in the first half he's closer to 4.7, but in the second half he's closer to 2, I mean, would you rather have that, or would you rather have just a solid, consistent season of that 3.5 play? That's a tough question, because if you think about it, if he's giving you closer to that 2.5 ERA late in the season, if they are in the playoff push in that last wild card spot or so, because keep in mind, they're probably going to add teams to the postseason, maybe that's hot enough where that is a game changer compared to if he's giving you that 3.5 all year long and you're going into the season with the 3.5. Is that a different vibe when it comes to what he's able to bring? That is a very interesting question. But moral of the story is, when you look at who I value the most when it comes to this team for this shortened season, it's the starting pitching. And they are going to have to be very, very, very on top of their game for this organization to succeed this year. Which brings us to number 3. Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper. That's right. the guy. And I've been through this many times before, and it's very laughable to hear he's overrated, he's overpaid, blah, 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 blah. There's actually plenty of baseball purists out there who understand that he's almost called overpaid and overrated so much that he might be underrated, if that makes any sense. It makes sense to me. But it is the truth. It's almost as if he gets so much hate and so much bash that he's not appreciated enough. And he's almost underrated with what he's able to bring to the table. When it comes to assists, by the way, defensively out there in the outfield, yeah, he's at the top of the conversation. That year last year was awesome. Flat out awesome. What a cannon in right field, making plays, throwing guys out at third base, throwing guys out at second base. Miraculous. Here's the thing, though. There's a lot of baseball fans out there, and I'm not going to bash people for this because I understand, but it is reality. When it comes to baseball, you can love it as much as you like, but there's so many damn games, right? So there's so many damn games, 162. There's so many teams playing at 7 o'clock. Then there's the 10 o'clock starts. Like, people who are not Phillies fans and they're fans of other teams, they don't watch 162 games of Bryce Harper or games of baseball like Philadelphia Philly fans do. So they look at the numbers and they see 260 batting average and they start laughing and they think that he's not being able to provide anything, but they don't watch all 9 innings. They don't study Bryce Harper like we do. So that is why I think that we support him so much, because, you have people who don't study him play every single game like we do, trying to claim that, well, he doesn't provide enough for that contract. Yet they don't look around the league at other contracts, and they don't look around the league at the AAV, and they don't look at where he's lined up in the league with any of his other stats other than just the 260 batting average. And when you look at what he's done, I told you, with the outfield assist, which is a phenomenal stat for him because his biggest knock was defense. So it was almost as if he took that, said screw you to everybody, and was able to really take a big step for last year. Right? Keep that in mind. That was a huge knock on his game, and he provided an unbelievable effort out there in the outfield. 8th in walks with 99, so top 10 in walks. 12th in RBIs. He was 1 away from being in the top 10 with 114. 23rd in OBP. 27th in doubles. Top 30 in runs scored. 35th in OPS. Top 35 in stolen bases. Top 50 in slugging. Okay, was he 4th in striking out? Well, guess what? Ronald Acuna Jr., Paul Goldschmidt, Pete Alonso, Suarez, they're in that area as well. I'm sure the same people that criticize Bryce Harper love what Pete Alonso did last year. Love Ronald Acuna. And you know what? They should. They should love Ronald Acuna Jr. I do. I'm a baseball fan. I love watching that kid play. He's going to be super special. He's going to be very talented. And you know what? He's going to crush the Phillies for a long-ass time. But guess what? As a baseball fan, he is magnificent. And he strikes out a lot. Pete Alonso crushes the baseball. He strikes out a lot. Paul Goldschmidt, okay, he's going to go down as a very, very, very solid player. Struck out a lot last year. Come on. In today's era of baseball, people are striking out. Okay. They provide so much, though. They bring so much. Do I want him to strike out that much? No, I don't. But what he brought last year, fine. If he can do that season over and over and over and over again for however many years, I'm not going to say 13 because that's not realistic, but if he gives you 9, 8 of those seasons, sure. Would I like more home runs? Sure. Once again, he had a lot on his plate last year. Big city, new contract, a lot of hype, a lot of conversation in the offseason, kid on the way, moving. Let him relax. Let him get into the groove. He will be just fine. Number 4, Reese Hoskins. This team needs protection in the lineup. Reese has been a dumpster fire when it comes to last year late. Specifically, he hit 161 in August, 170 in September and October, a total of 180 after the All-Star break with 9 home runs. It's disgusting numbers, and it was ugly too. Way overwhelmed. You could see he was defeated. Body language was bad. Head was down. Lost. That's the best way to describe it. It's lost. This team needs protection in the lineup. Bryce Harper will only be that much better if Reese Hoskins is unreal. I don't feel it. There's something in my stomach that just tells me he doesn't have it. He might not be a bad player, but after his nice start and the expectations that grew, I don't know if he's going to reach those expectations. Can he be okay? Yeah, he might be okay. My gut just tells me he's not going to be the player that we expect him to be. The Pete Alonso, if you will. I don't think he's going to be hitting 50 homers. I don't see him like that. And he's not a good defender. Does the DH come into play? Will that really help Reese Hoskins? I remember when he was playing left field, we were saying, well, wait until he gets to his natural position. Well, he is at first base, and it's not much better, and it's not like he's more comfortable at the plate because of what he was doing in the field. I don't feel it. But if this team is going to be special, if this team is going to be hot and come out the gates firing and be a team that makes a lot of noise, he's going to have to be great. Where you got to walk Bryce Harper and face Reese Hoskins. The Reese Hoskins that can hit grand slams. The Reese Hoskins that can hit 20 home runs before the All-Star break. That type of Reese Hoskins. Not the one where you're pumped to walk Bryce Harper so Reese comes up because you know it's an automatic out. His numbers with runners in scoring positions with 2 outs, 187. You're talking about a guy who was supposed to be knocking in runs. This player is supposed to be the dude when there's guys on base. He's able to deliver and make sure the Phillies gets runs across home plate. Struggles with lefties. Okay. I'm not going to totally destroy him for being a little weak against lefties. But he does struggle against lefties. Going back to the runners in scoring position thing, when there's 2 men on second and third base, specifically second and third base, he hit 0.77. Oof. With a man just on second, 138. Those numbers are just putrid. And when you have a guy you rely on to knock in runs, your DH, your number 4 batter, that type of hitter. And yeah, I said DH on a team in the National League. Ew, that's so weird to say. But when you have that guy up in the batter's box in a big moment, when your team can go up a run, can tie the game, can break the game open, can secure a big lead, you got to do better than that. So if this team is going to take the next step, Reese Hoskins is going to have to be able to do it. Last but not least, and I could have went so many different ways, I said Andrew McCutchen. Older, coming off of injury. Might not be easy for him. But last year he went down on June 3rd, so essentially right in the beginning of June. In June, they went 11-16. That is where everything fell apart. They lost their leadoff guy, and boom. From there, they completely struggled. They finished 500. They lost all their mojo. He was able to really give that team veteran experience. He was excellent at the plate. He was just really good at knowing the game of baseball, understanding certain situations, being intelligent in the batter's box, working counts, walking if need be. Hell, even hitting dingers if need be in that leadoff spot. Getting on base. 364 OBP. I could have went in other directions. JT Realmuto, right? Didi Gregorius, Joe Girardi, maybe even Jake Arrieta. What if Jake Arrieta had a really good season? Well, that means they would have Aaron Nola, Zack Wheeler, and Jake Arrieta. 3 pitchers that you could rely on. So what if I put Jake Arrieta in there, which could have been someone that I thought about? But ultimately, I think these 5 players are the ones where if I told you that they had very strong seasons, if I told you that, this Phillies team would be in the conversation. They would be in the playoffs. And I truly feel that way. Aaron Nola, Zack Wheeler, Bryce Harper, Reese Hoskins, Andrew McCutchen. If those 5 players are standout players for their respected careers, you're talking about something. Now, that doesn't mean World Series. I don't know what that means, but it means at least the Phillies, to me, are in the playoff conversation because they still have plenty of holes. That bullpen, it's a mess. The back of the rotation, it's a mess. I mean, it's a team game at the end of the day. So just because those players have stellar seasons, it doesn't ultimately mean that the prized possession is coming back down Broad Street and Philadelphia is going to go crazy. No, I'm not going to that level. So that's why I think it's more of, hey, they'll be in the playoff conversation. But that needs to happen. It's big. It's a wonky situation. It's a weird season. It's going to be short. Players aren't used to that. They had a spring training. Then they lost their spring training. Then they're going to have a spring training 2.0. Then they're going to be playing with no fans. They're going to have a weird division. The playoff system might be different. It's going to be all over the place. But I think if those 5 players compete at a high level, bring it statistically, yeah. And the loss of Andrew McCutchen last year was just brutal. It brought this team down. They didn't know how to react. They couldn't overcome losing the veteran. And he was able to provide so much, not just from a personality standpoint, from a culture standpoint, but lead off. Lead off. They had no one that they can really say, go up there, work the count, get on first base, and let's start this thing off. Because last year, you had him get on. You had Gene Segura, you had Bryce Harper, you had Reese, you had JT. I mean, it was just flowing. He went down, and it was really ugly. And from there, the team really never got going again. May, they went 17-11. So they really got going in May. That's where the thing started flowing. Like, all right, maybe this Phillies team has something. June, completely boom. And from there, 12-11 in July, 13-14 in August. So in those 2 months, you're essentially 500. And it makes a lot of sense because the team fell to 81-81 after another brutal collapse. So there you have it. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below, or if you're listening to this on the Apple Podcast app or any other podcasting platforms out there, leave a review with your thoughts. I love using the review system as a way to talk to people who use the podcasting platform. So leave your 5 important players for this upcoming Philly season. So once again, do not forget that this episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. They set the standard for clean energy. So whether you are looking to add solar to your home or your company, Orbit Energy and Power works directly with you to ensure that you are getting the best deal. That's not all. Orbit also provides water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Visit them online at orbitenergy.us or call them at 800-836-3987. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.